real quickly, general ledger, I think last month we were at 6.8, we're at 6.7 million. Edit, 920,000. Rainy day, 3.5 million. Lit correctional facility, also 3.5 million. GeoCap project, is still steady at 1 million. General property taxes, I saw were up about $125,000. Lit certified shares, also up about $500,000. Being 7 months into our year, we should be about 58% overall. Budgetary wise, we're at 56.21. Right now, for my folks, prosecutor 53%, commissioners at 55, council at 47, EMS at 55, 40, prosecutor at 55. So my departments are sitting in good shape. Mr. Ratcliffe?
Yeah, thank you. So, emergency management, emergency management is at 28.96% year to date. Now that seems low, but we gave an additional 60,000 for the repeaters last month. So if you take that out, EMA is actually at 49.12% year to date, because that money's sitting in that line, but it's not been spent. So Cume Bridge at 30.3% year to date. MVH is at 40.52%. Local road and street is at no change from June at 13.72%. Supplemental adult probation is at 63.25% year to date, and supplemental juvenile probation, no concerns there. So that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mine are, everybody's okay, the surveyor is 1% or something, but monthly variation.
Mr. Brown?
All my departments are doing just fine.
My coroner's at 64%, she's the only one over. Transfer station's at 42% budget. Clerk's at 57% budget. Soil and water is 57%.
Auditor, recorder, and assessor all in good order.
Very good. And auditor's report.
Okay, I sent out the reports earlier in the month. Are there any questions for me?
Where are they? I had to search.
Next is non-binding reviews.
Did I forget to send those to
out
you?
to you August the 5th.
It's because it was so early. I can send
What we
them to you.
need to do
I
is
got them
just
yesterday.
say that you looked at them, or unless you have something, that you need to review it, and then instruct me to send a copy to those entities and put it in the minutes.
What's our time frame for that, for sending that?
Should be done now, because they're working on budgets.
Would you like a motion to direct you? I'll make a motion.
Second.
Concerning non-binding reviews. Motion by Mr. Brown, second by Tom Ryder. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The next is the newly version 2 of the salary ordinance. And I want you to know I put it right there on the front page.
Don't you love it?
I just love it.
I knew you'd love it.
So if you would take one and pass it on, it's already been signed, I just, we did it last time, so I just,
Can you make it bigger next time?
I'll make it an inch, Anyway, I wanted you to know that I have done that. Budget books were put in front of you today. Those are all completed as far as I know. We've had people working on that in the office, so hopefully they're
because like I said, based on the current market, and like I said, I've had one application in this position. She's interested, but she's making $10 an hour more than what we're offering right now. So we are likely not going to get an RN in this position unless we at least consider raising it to some degree.
So, I've got a question.
Sure.
And I apologize if it sounds ignorant. Are there different tiers, responsibilities, stressors placed on different types of nurses in the departments that they work in, emergency, surgical?
Certainly, yes. There are different pay scales. For instance, nursing home nurses often do make it the higher end because everyone hates that job, and it's very hard to retain nurses in a nursing home. An RN may supervise up to 80 patients, which is why if you've ever been to a nursing home, you realize that it's difficult to care for people in a nursing home. So yes, and so your OR nurses would certainly get paid more than, say, an outpatient nurse. Public health nurses are at the bottom of the pay scale, honestly. I'm also the health officer in Howard County, so I can tell you that our nurses there certainly make less than they would in private practice or if they worked inpatient. Now, outpatient RNs tend to be a little, definitely lower, because it's a much less stressful job, say, if you're working in the doctor's office. Although, most doctor offices no longer hire RNs to work in their offices because it's too expensive. So most outpatient doctors have gone to, usually we use MAs now instead of nurses. So you'll find most outpatient doctors' offices simply can't afford RNs. And so most RNs work either inpatient, nursing home. The state does not require an RN, but they definitely push for it. Now Joyce was an LPN, she was kind of grandfathered in. The state recommends we have an RN because they have to act much more independently than most RNs would, because obviously she's here by herself, giving shots, giving, some medical advice that's within her scope of practice as an RN. So the state encourages us not to use anything below an RN for this position.
So, you said the state average hourly rate was 30,
Yeah, 32. That would include, though, that's overall in the state. That would include your OR nurses and your public health nurses.
okay, you're not factoring out, like, shift premiums and?
No, that's just an
Different,
average,
okay.
right. And so honestly, you would expect to make less in this job than you would, say, as, a CCU nurse or an ICU nurse. So those are the ones that are gonna be at the higher end. So the average is 32, they may be making 40. And some are making more than that, especially with the COVID pandemic. There's been some people have left nursing and they've paying travel nurses anywhere up to $60, $70 an hour. To go, and work inpatient in other states is what's happening, is why we've had kind of such a drain on that system, because they can obviously make more money doing travel nursing. And that's her hospitals, that's her everything.
I'd like to make a motion to raise the wages from $23 to $30 per hour for the nurse.
I have another question
Sure.
to ask.
Can we,
Um,
if we could get a second or not on that.
I'll second it.
For further.
Uh-huh.
Are we good?
Okay, thank you.
Motion in a second, and.
Okay.
Question?
So you said that you've had one applicant for
This position.
this position. I'm just curious because we always get told that pay is the one determining factor in regards to the amount of applicants we get and the type of, the qualifications for the applicants we get. Where was this advertised and like how have you posted this position?
It's mainly just here at the courthouse. It is online, it's on Indeed. And actually we did get one other applicant, which actually was from a nurse practitioner, which I was surprised she even applied for it, and she got a different job. But, and she was going through a headhunter actually, so I guess headhunters are aware of this. And we could certainly advertise it, I suppose, more. We don't have an administrator to do that right now, but.
Yeah, so I guess, like, if it's on Indeed, who is, like, monitoring that and, parsing through those applications? Is that you?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
there's not much, so.
You have contact with Howard County, Cass County,
Yes, cause Cass
Counties
County has
around
tried
the
to send
word-
us, yeah,
The word
some,
goes, we've
yeah,
had
so
one
Cass, yeah.
applicant in 7 months.
Yes, in fact, I have asked at Howard County too, if there was anybody, and spread the word around there. And Cass County, I have somebody looking for us in their health department, and sent us one person, but then they didn't end up applying because of other reasons, so. So no, I mean,
Dr. Ben Anderson is on our, health board, and as well as working at, Cass County Hospital. And he said flat off, he said, you're not gonna hire a nurse.
yeah, we had a board meeting Monday night, and that's when
Yeah.
we approved to ask for this increase, and he said that too, so the hospitals are struggling. And like I said, I know the nursing homes, some around here, you have 35 to 38 an hour, and so, and it would take someone that, you know, people for this job are gonna be willing to work, or make less for better hours. So those are perks, some other places don't have retirement, don't have benefits, so, you know, we promote that as part of this. But even like I said, both Dr. Anderson and Dr. Huffer were both like, yeah, you're not gonna find anybody to take you 26 an hour.
What White County's, I remember seeing,
Yes, and you can look that up, some
I
of
was
them
thinking
are a
we
little
were
less.
I was thinking we were only $3 or $4 away from White County. I mean, cause we are looking at a $6 an hour raise.
Well, we
What's
knew-
your motion? 30
$30 an hour like she had.
from 24.
It's 24?
23.76.
23.76.
But we've all known that when Joyce left as an LPN to replace her, it's what cost us more money. We know it.
Well,
Because she loved the job.
was the job description posted as an RN?
Yes, it is, because the state asks us. I would probably, I mean, it's kinda up to me, I guess, but the state really does not want an LPN in that position. Joyce had done it for, I think, 11 years, but the state requested an RN.
So we fundamentally changed the job description.
It was supposed to be RN before. I don't know how they got around that when they hired Joyce. Honestly, I wasn't here then, but it is supposed to be an RN.
So what happens if you do and whoever applies, are you not gonna hire them because they have an RN?
She's already had a couple of them that we've had, and
Yeah, I cannot hire an MA. An MA cannot give shots without a physician present. So that's, even an LPN, in the current situation, legally, you're kind of treading on thin ice if you're gonna let an LPN,
So if the job
Function.
description says RN, then
it needs to be an RN, it really does.
Yes.
I was gonna say just one thing, during the interview, the individual that was interested in this job, one of the things she said is that she's willing to work for less than what she's making now, because for two main factors. One is that she is constantly working weekends and holidays, she does not have that kind of option. And then she gets called in on emergencies once or twice a month. And she's on call all the time, and it's a really stressful job. And so, part of the reason that these people are paid more in nursing homes and the emergency rooms is because they're asked to do a lot more stressful kind of job than the county health nurse would do. I'm just trying to say why we don't have to offer the same kind of money as we would for, like the $37 or $38 an hour to get people to apply. Because we do have some perks that those places can't offer.
Because the $30 an hour is still less, obviously, than they can make other places. And that's the same thing with our public health nurses in Howard County. I mean, they know they obviously could be making more in other spots, but they choose to work in public health because they feel dedicated to it, they love it, and it is better hours, and it's much less stressful. So that's why we can pay a public health nurse less than an inpatient nurse. And this $30 an hour is still less than what they would make in other situations.
Got to have a nurse,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
keep the health department going. We
I'd just
really
like
need
to
talk.
know that we did this before, and that we always get pressured that we have to have this. And I know overstaffed. And when are they going to come and say, I can't find truck drivers for, I mean, he's sitting there shaking his head, so.
I think the other thing to look at though is what Kevin said, what are we gonna spend this excess money on? If we don't have a public health nurse, we don't have a health department. I'm here 3 hours a week and that's it. I answer the phone, I'm answering the calls, I'm COVID calls, I'm doing all that. But we need a nurse in here and we need to find a way to get one in here because we have not really been a functional health department since Joyce passed. And we get calls, I mean, Randy and Kevin are answering the phone, and we forward them to Cass County if we can, or they forward them to me. So I would say also, again, if you look at that excess money in that account, what are we gonna spend it on? And even if we raise this, you know, like I said, it's an additional, if you include perf and social security extra 15,000 a year, if that's all we did, you know, it would still take us 20 years to use up that money.
Well, that's not entirely true.
Well-
We just need to stop this conversation
Okay.
about the back, because there's money in there for your freezers, there's money in there for your automobiles, there's allocated dollars.
That's already allocated though, so
No,
what?
it's not.
Well, it's not
That is-
allocated,
Yeah, it is
but,
allocated.
No, sir, please, the money, it sits in the fund,
right,
and so, like, those dollars sit in the fund,
yeah,
and we don't budget them on an annual year,
Right.
but they are there for a specific purpose.
right.
So, like, when we say there's 400,000, there's really not.
Well,
But this is a unique, I mean, there is 400,000, don't get me wrong, that
Yeah.
is technically true, but some or all of that money, or some portion of that money is already spoken for.
right, but I'm only looking at the excess. When I say we'll take 20 years to use that, I'm looking at, so for instance, we requested for 2023, $255,595. In 22, we requested, so our normal budget, yearly budget is about $228,000, give or take, right? So I'm looking, when I say using that, I'm talking about the excess, I'm talking about the 500,000 minus the 228.
Right. And what I'm saying is, like, the tax rate varies.
Right.
So if, and this happens with departments across the county
Right.
government, when excess cash is built up in a fund,
Yes.
the tax rate is lowered, and then that money can be spent on normal operating expense. We don't look for a way to say, hey, there's 400,000 here, we're gonna spend it.
Right, and like I said, we're not actually looking to spend all that, because it would take us 20 years for that. So, and again, I realize the tax rates vary, and, you know, we've run 2009, you know, where you had, yeah, you don't have that money, and so you have to either drop salaries, you lose employees, those types of things, so.
I just wanted to
No, I,
clarify that,
yes,
like,
and I realize, yes, but like I said, I realize
I
that
want
much
to
is
clarify too, that it wouldn't take 20 years.
Yeah, actually with the
Yeah.
perf and social security, I
If
didn't have
you
that
would
in.
spend, well, no, if you would spend your whole budget for this year was 228,000.
Right,
So you only have, actually 544 in there, you're down to 164.
right,
So, I mean, if you spent the
about
whole
10
amount,
years.
it would be more or less not, I mean, you've been in that position before where you didn't have the money
Right.
to pay.
yeah. The other thing I would add though, is that if you look at 1159, other counties use more of that for salary, and I can use I can use Howard County. We use 97% of that for salaries in Howard County. And we use 1168, 1206, you know,
amen.
yeah.
Like, that whole thing needs revisited.
Yeah,
discussed.
and so, and I guess that's what I'm looking at too, is that if you're looking at, we can't increase all these salaries, but you can use in the entire 1159 for salaries. Because we always have, 1168 from the state, it is about 35,000 a year actually, and then 1206 is about 17,000 a year. That comes in every year from the state, those are grants. So, and we could shift that to office supplies and things like that, that we spend part of that 1159. Right now, at least last time I calculated, 1159, we use 84% for salaries. And the rest is for supplies and all those things. Those can be shifted to those other grants.
And I think that we could get more grant money
Oh,
if we change the way
absolutely.
we structured our grants.
Absolutely, if we had more employees to apply, there are lots of other grants out there we could be applying for to get more money.
No, I'm just saying 1159,
Oh.
1159, that's,
1206 and
the health
1168.
grant.
Yeah, 1168 is the bigger one.
Yeah, the 1168 grant, more money could be taken out of 1152, oh man.
Right, cause right now I show balance in 1168 is $119,000, and we usually budget about 43,000. 1206 has $82,000 in it, and budget 16,000. But the state says we are not to use those for salaries unless it's part-time. So that's why if we shifted more salary to 1159, then we would use that for supplies, so
Dale,
those are options.
did you have a question?
No.
Okay. I'm sorry. I saw you scratch your arm up, I didn't know if you had a question.
Do you have an office administrator now?
No. I have a couple applicants that we just got. One's from Howard County, actually.
This person that you interviewed is, I mean, you would offer?
Yeah, we would, yeah.
You would make an offer?
Yeah, and again, I don't know that she'll take the 30 an hour, but, I would like to offer that.
Okay. All right. So we've got a motion and a second on the floor.
So, I mean, this is hourly, I mean, this, again, it's the same thing we talk about every month, like, we're seeing requests off the cycle. Does appear to be a material change to how we've handled it, I mean, in the past, LPN versus RN, but, I'm just curious, I mean, are there any alternatives that anybody can think of? That, other than just a $6 rate hike to fix this and alleviate this problem, because I do agree with the urgency, I mean, both the urgency and the significance of the health department. But the knee-jerk reaction and the lack of discussion and around what are our alternatives is,
We have a lady out there that will probably take it at $30 an hour. If we turn that down,
I mean, if you feel like you wanna discuss it more, I mean, I don't know that she would not take the job in a month, but, I don't know, like I said, it's just, yeah, I have no idea, I mean, I'm just saying, but if further discussion is warranted, then further discussion is warranted, but.
So we have a motion on the floor and much of an increase too soon. I think you're gonna see the rest of the county employees go, wow, $6 raise, boom.
They're not our.
well, you can't buy a Cadillac for Chevrolet place. We're talking two different things.
And I'm not saying they're not worth it, I'm not
Right.
saying that there is, like you said, a different atmosphere of working here as compared to working someone else. They have Wednesdays off, if they're local, they have no fuel, so.
Yeah.
The Amish.
Right. So we just don't get shots here?
No, none. They don't do it.
We have a lot of low-income families
We
that
do,
really depend on it.
Yes.
They absolutely
Yes.
depend on it.
yes. So,
But we
like I
haven't
said,
been able to do it since.
no, they're having to go elsewhere. I've sent people out of the county to, pharmacies, yeah, if you have insurance, you can go to pharmacies. So I've sent people to other counties. And they're going to Cass County too, honestly. We know that from their nursing reports that they're going to Cass County. And then, like I said, the Delphi Family Health Project has been kind of overwhelmed a little bit with our patients and said how much longer you're gonna do. So,
Is the RN center?
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Those in favor of approving the $30 an hour raise for our
Raise.
health department? Well, salary, not raise, a salary for the health department RN, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
4 to 3 in favor.
Correct.
Guess what? I gotta give you a change.
B3. To be seen in September.
8/20/22, that's gonna be our new headline.
Hopefully that moves it to the salary.
Additional.
Yeah, we are down to additionals, these have all been advertised, looks like everything but the highway was advertised out of general ledger. Anyone like to poll, or since these are advertised?
I would like them all to be heard individually.
Okay.
or by department.
All right. So we'll start with you.
Sure.
Thanks.
I'm gonna refer, last month I provided each of you a explanation, justification for the additional funding request. I don't know if you recall that, but I broke down. And I have a copy with me here in front of me, but, the basic breakdown involving that, total 46,472. 6,500 of that is for replacement of an engine in one of our 2018 Dodge Durango SUVs. It is also a vehicle that I intend on maintaining once our new vehicles are in and utilize that as an animal control or pool vehicle. And then, bigger part of it is being applied, I would ask to apply that toward the purchase of a used Delphi police truck to replace the vehicle that was totally damaged and when we lost two wonderful members of our staff in January.
Is that around 20? Is that close?
The
When they're
total
asking for the truck?
purchase price of the city has provided is $30,000. So the breakdown, what I have offered by way of my additional request involves, the difference is actually $16,330 as far as the difference. What I'm also asking for is that the insurance has settled with the county in that vehicle, and that I think it was 19,000 something that they paid us for the loss of that vehicle, 19,472 if I remember correctly. Yeah, so I'm asking to recoup, that money has obviously been provided to them, and then it's obviously most of the time earmarked for general fund, but I would ask to hold that funding for the purpose of purchasing this city vehicle and to replace our vehicle that we lost in January. And then, 3521, 3,521 then would be applied toward equipment and graphics, as we await our new vehicles coming in. That is provide us for one of three vehicles. So the actual funding as I prepared late last month was 26,351, and then you add in 19,472 of the insurance payment. So that was my justification, the email or explanation that I provided late last month to each of you.
Motion to approve the sheriff's request for additional.
So this does include some of the 2023.
I say 23, it's actually 22 vehicles that we're still waiting on, so, yes. Yeah, yeah.
I was
Yeah,
running in
yeah.
2023, I'm
All
sorry.
right, yeah, that's right.
Okay, we got a motion and a second on the floor to approve.
My only question is, for some number of years, we've been told that the Impalas are just not good, and that they were, inferior in terms of total cost of ownership, engine replacements, maintenance, blah, 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 blah. And that the Durango, which was a much more expensive vehicle, had a lower overall cost of ownership because it was just a better vehicle. But now we're seeing engine replacements on it. So from a policy perspective, I mean, what's the right answer in terms of what we're looking at going forward and being able to budget for these? Because it seems like this is an ongoing issue. We're seeing unforeseen expense in vehicles. So, I mean, from a policy perspective, from a, what can we do to do a better job of forecasting buying better vehicles? I mean, what's the answer in terms of looking at that?
Very-
Doesn't the state get a bid?
Yeah, and that's, ever since I've been in office, and several obviously sheriffs before me, we've always participated in that state bid process because the price is cheaper. The issue we're running into is, as it is with, I guess I'll say retail or commercial, is the supply of vehicles, or the having that opportunity. In fact, just to update you, I just learned this, talking to our, we're looking at bringing on, 3 Ford Explorers, talking with the dealership, the state bid dealership, which is, Sam Roberts out of Bloomington. We are potentially looking at somewhere around the holiday before we even see those vehicles. Originally, we were supposed to get them right now.
Are they four-wheel drive?
Yes, yeah, so, but, to answer your question, Josh, I guess it varies from manufacturer to manufacturer, and I guess to add to what your comment on the Impala, personally, I've always been a GM man, and I've always felt they provided us a better product. The issue we had, I felt, at the end of the life of the Chevrolet Impala, lease Impalas, not taking a shot at GM, but I think they knew they were on their way out of producing those vehicles, and so we didn't get the best product at the end of the life of the cycle building those vehicles. And so, we have to rely heavily on what the manufacturers are providing us and hope that they'll hold together. I will comment that, to the best of my knowledge, other than the transmission in the animal control vehicle recently, as far as I know, this is the only engine replacement we had to do on the police vehicle in the county of Bloomington, at least under my term.
Didn't we do a whole bunch of Impalas?
Engine replacements?
Yeah.
I've been obviously phasing those out, so we've not.
I thought we did, okay.
Okay, motion and a second on the floor, any further discussion? How many miles are on the truck coming from?
20,000. And it's a 2020.
Just like new.
It's just getting broken in.
Okay, no further discussion, those in favor of $46,472 for automotive maintenance for the sheriff, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Move to approve the highway addition.
Second.
Okay.
Glad he wore a tie.
So we've got a motion to approve county highway, greater blades and other for $32,000. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Motion to approve the prosecutor's, two, requests for additional.
Second.
I don't know why these can't be taken out of, maybe witness fees, but like, this seems like things that in years gone by have all come out of diversions. I don't see any reason to do this. He's made this request, 2 or 3 years in a row and we've denied it every year. I don't know why we approve that.
I think it very well could be utilized out of conversion.
I'd like to change my motion to just cover the witness fees and not the office support.
Okay, the amended motion is to cover $1,500 out of witness fees, transcripts, only, and not the $1,000 discussion?
I think that there's room to transfer personally, but, I mean, I think we haven't even asked that question. Of the prosecutor's office. I mean, this is a tiny additional in the grand scope of the budget. I don't see why we would be doing $1,500 additionals when transfers are available.
Call for vote.
Okay. Those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye.
Got that 2 to 5?
Motion fails 2 to 5.
Motion to approve the autopsy fee for $40,000.
What's that for, what that office supply? Make a motion to deny the office supply.
Second.
Yeah. Motion to deny the office supply transfer of $1,000. A second, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That motion carries 7-0. And then, Paul, you made a motion.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve all the coroner's, requests, and she can talk about it.
I don't wanna hear about the storage. We just bought a building, now we got $3,000 for storage.
Our bodies, we can't.
Okay, we've
Yeah,
got
we
a-
don't
we've
have
got a-
storage for bodies.
We got a motion
In a second.
and a second, okay. Go right ahead.
We don't have a cooler, so we don't have anywhere to store our bodies. We have a building, but we don't have a morgue or a cooler, so we still continue to have to use White County. So I can get good approval for,
So it's
Yes,
not,
that makes-
it's not storage of.
that's,
Sounds like a good
I don't disagree.
tremendous investment.
I haven't had.
And-
Could you tell us like a total amount so far we've paid out of county for store?
Just for storage alone is the bill I just was getting ready to send, or not send it. Well, I send it to them and then they send it to me to pay, is we've had $4,500 currently for just storage. And then I haven't added the autopsy room fees for this time. The last time was
You have a bill in for this.
3,000.
We have a
I have,
bill.
yes.
Okay.
Last time we paid 3,000 in autopsy room fees. I haven't added that up yet this time.
I know, Doc, you're always, I mean, you're adamant about not having more than that, but with the cost of this increasing each year,
And the number of.
Well,
I think it needs to be looked at for.
and we have been.
But are you saying that our cost wouldn't increase if we had a morgue every year, because there's a
Well,
lot of
that's what
data
would
that
need to
would
be-
say to the contrary?
That's what would need to be looked at.
Well, we'll
is-
talk about it in budget, why don't we do that?
Yeah.
That'd be good.
You have a hard cost for coolers and all that?
We looked at, depending on if we just do like a stackable or if we do a walk-in, but they were running, I mean, we looked anywhere from like $3,000 to $8,000, depending on what you get. Honestly,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
stacked ones.
How much?
Anywhere from $3,000 to like $8,000, depending on what you get. I mean, obviously, the more, if you get a big walk-in, it's gonna be more, but if you just do the,
Would that make,
three.
would that make it like full service essentially then, if we had that? Or do you, is there still something you
we
would
do
need out of
the
county?
autopsy room,
Autopsy room.
which doesn't require a whole lot either.
Right.
I think roughly I figured it out with equipment and stuff, it was like 20,000. I mean, we'd have to build the room, but
Right.
like equipment itself is not.
I know your dad went to an auction and.
We have a lot of walking coolers.
We're doing sidewalk, there we go.
So we just have to make sure that with moving them, you continue to have a
Right.
good seal. I mean, we have to make sure it's gonna, when you move them, it breaks the seal every time.
So this $40,000, is it to cover what you already have done, or is this to hopefully get you through the next
I
few
have,
months?
I think I looked yesterday, 1,000 left right now, so that is getting to the rest of the year.
September. When did you
autopsy and storage. I haven't done this, the autopsy room, the storage was 2,100. And I haven't looked at the autopsy room yet, yeah.
No, I meant the autopsies are 2,100 for September.
I haven't done the storage was. I haven't
I'm
added
just
the
saying,
fee
well,
for
what you have
autopsy.
left in your budget right now is 500.
When I add my
5,700.
sheet for Excel that I have yesterday that I looked at, had like $1,000 left in autopsy fund.
So the 40,000 is a speculation of what will get you through the rest of the year.
That Scott and I talked about it a little bit, and I talked with Paul about it, and, I mean, we just kinda went, we were halfway through the year, and I've already gone through one additional. We've already surpassed our
I just
numbers
have
from
a
last
question
year
where you came
total.
up with 40,000.
How much was that previous additional? Was it 15?
Yes.
Okay.
Then we had to transfer something out of there also.
What-
So what you've spent so far, as of yesterday, is where and I keep asking about September bill that you're gonna turn in, is 36,180.
Probably, this sheet I have is not the current one, but,
So, what percentage of the debt, well, A, how many have we had this year?
we've had a total of 38 so far,
38, and we had 34, 35 left.
35 last year.
35 left.
We're way in.
And what percentage of those are we performing autopsies on?
I don't have the exact percentage, most of them I didn't do, let's see. Since we got the last additional, I have an autopsy free of them. But I did get toxicologies on one of those, we saved the autopsy fee and just drew toxicology ourselves. And that was $370, so we tried to save a little bit of cost, but it's still expensive.
Is there any type of benefit if we just would do like a $15,000 additional now, and is there, and then if we have to do another 15,000 to keep doing these additionals, or just do the 40 and?
Well, she says she's got bills to turn in, I believe, and you'll be down to $1,000.
Just for the autopsy room and the storage, not an autopsy itself. The autopsy
That was my
itself are
question
six.
I had, is the $40,000 a speculation of what will get you through September through December?
Yes.
So you have monies to cover up to?
I have monies to right now, like I won't have enough to pay another autopsy.
She's saying you don't.
I don't have enough to pay another autopsy.
And that.
So, and that's what I'm saying, if we do another $15,000, is it beneficial? I mean, what if she doesn't?
We also would have to, she could transfer some of that money around and to pay some of the other bills.
I don't have a lot to transfer.
But with that 40, if you get the 40.
Yes. I'm just saying,
That's just not good governance from my perspective. If you're putting it in this line and then transferring it around, it's impossible to track
That's
what
why that
what
says
things
it.
are spent on.
That's why there's a difference in not. She's had to transfer
My next
something
question
out.
would be to deputy pay, is that for all of, just because there's been so many runs, or?
that's what I'm going for is.
So there's a bigger question in my mind. Budget $49,000. And we arrived at a number of 46.2. These additionals alone are as much as your entire annual budget. You only requested 1,500 for your deputy, and you're asking for double that in additionals just to finish out the year. So I understand the volume is increasing, but it's not increasing at the rate that you're asking for additional money. And I can't reconcile that.
I can't speculate the increase this, I mean, I don't know how many we're gonna have is the problem, so.
I understand, but just like proportion